People think power is loud. They think the strongest person in the room is the one who talks the most, explains the most, and fights the hardest to be understood. But watch carefully. The moment someone stops chasing approval, stops defending every accusation, and stops reacting to every insult, something changes. The noise disappears, and suddenly everyone starts paying attention. Silence has a strange effect on people. It creates questions where answers used to be. It creates doubt where certainty once existed. While arguments give others something to attack, silence leaves them alone with their own thoughts. The truth is, not every battle deserves your voice. Sometimes the greatest display of strength is refusing to spend your energy proving yourself to people who already decided what they want to believe. Most people have a strange relationship with power. They think power is something you prove, something you display, something you force others to notice. So they talk more than necessary. They explain themselves to people who never intended to understand them. They defend every decision, answer every criticism, and react to every opinion thrown in their direction. They believe that if they stay silent, they will lose control of the situation. What they fail to realize is that the constant need to explain yourself is often a sign that other people are controlling your emotions. The world is full of people who know exactly how to pull your attention away from what matters. Some will challenge you. Some will doubt you. Some will criticize you for reasons that have nothing to do with truth and everything to do with their own insecurities. They want a reaction because reactions are revealing. The moment you become emotional, frustrated, or desperate to prove a point, you hand them access to your state of mind. You tell them what bothers you. You show them where your weaknesses live. You give away information that would have remained hidden if you had simply remained silent. Silence is uncomfortable for many people because it cannot be controlled easily. Words can be interrupted. Arguments can be challenged. Explanations can be twisted. Silence offers no handle to grab onto. It creates a space where other people are forced to deal with uncertainty. Human beings naturally want answers. They want clarity. They want to know what you are thinking, what you are planning, and how you feel about them. When you refuse to reveal everything, you create a presence that feels stronger than endless conversation. Think about how often people expose themselves while trying to defend themselves. They talk too much. They reveal too much. They become trapped in a cycle of justification. One explanation turns into another. One defense leads to 100 more. Before long, they are exhausted, and the people questioning them are still not satisfied. That is because some people never wanted answers. They wanted access. They wanted your attention, your energy, and your emotional investment. Silence denies them all three. There is a certain confidence that comes from knowing you do not owe everyone an explanation. Not because you are arrogant, not because you believe you are above others, but because you understand that your value does not increase every time someone agrees with you. A person who truly knows their worth does not spend every moment trying to convince others of it. They move differently. They carry themselves differently. Their actions become louder than their words because they are not wasting energy on endless debates. People often mistake silence for weakness because they assume strength must always be visible. They expect power to be loud, dramatic, and obvious. Yet some of the strongest individuals remain calm, while everyone around them loses control. They understand that emotional discipline is a form of power. They understand that not every accusation requires a response. Not every insult deserves attention. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. The person who reacts to everything becomes predictable. The person who remains silent becomes difficult to read. And what cannot be easily read cannot be easily manipulated. While others rush to explain themselves, justify themselves, and defend themselves, the silent person preserves something valuable. They preserve their focus. They preserve their emotional balance. They preserve the ability to choose where their energy goes instead of allowing other people to decide it for them. Many people spend their lives trying to win arguments while quietly losing control of themselves. They become addicted to proving points, correcting opinions, and fighting battles that change nothing. Silence breaks that pattern. It removes you from unnecessary conflicts. It prevents others from pulling you into emotional traps. It keeps your attention where it belongs instead of scattering it among people who contribute nothing to your growth. One of the most expensive mistakes people make is believing that every argument deserves their attention. They walk into every disagreement as if their reputation, intelligence, or value is on trial. The moment someone challenges them, they feel an urge to respond. The moment someone criticizes them, they feel obligated to defend themselves. It becomes automatic. A comment turns into a debate. A disagreement turns into a battle. A simple opinion turns into an emotional investment that drains far more than it ever gives back. What many people fail to understand is that arguments are not all created equal. Some conversations are meant to create understanding. Others exist only to create conflict. Some people genuinely want to exchange ideas. Others simply want to win, regardless of facts, logic, or truth. If you cannot tell the difference, you end up wasting your energy on people who were never listening in the first place. There are individuals who thrive on reactions. They enjoy watching others become frustrated. They enjoy provoking emotional responses because it gives them a sense of control. The moment they realize they can influence your emotions with a few words, they gain access to your focus. Suddenly, they occupy your thoughts long after the conversation has ended. They become the center of your attention without earning the right to be there. The strange thing about unnecessary arguments is that they often promise importance but deliver nothing. You enter believing you are protecting your image, proving your intelligence, or standing up for yourself. Hours later, nothing has changed. The other person still believes what they believed before. You still believe what you believed before. The only difference is that your energy is gone. Your peace is disturbed. Your attention has been consumed by something that added no value to your life. People often underestimate the value of energy because they cannot see it leaving. Money disappears from a wallet, and everyone notices. Time disappears from a clock, and eventually people notice. Energy disappears quietly. It vanishes through pointless conversations, endless explanations, and emotional battles that never needed to happen. Day after day, people give away pieces of themselves to situations that are not worth the cost. The strongest individuals are not the ones who win every argument. They are the ones who recognize which arguments are worth entering at all. They understand that attention is a limited resource. Every moment spent fighting a meaningless battle is a moment stolen from personal growth, meaningful relationships, important goals, and genuine opportunities. They do not confuse activity with progress. Just because a conflict is loud does not mean it matters. There is a certain freedom that comes from realizing you do not need to respond to everything. Not every accusation requires a defense. Not every insult deserves acknowledgement. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Some people will dislike you no matter how clearly you explain yourself. Some people will misinterpret your intentions no matter how carefully you choose your words. Some people have already decided who you are before you even open your mouth. Trying to convince those people can become a trap. The more you explain, the more they demand. The more you defend yourself, the more they attack. The more energy you invest, the more they consume. It becomes a cycle with no finish line because the goal was never understanding. The goal was keeping you engaged. That is why restraint often feels more powerful than reaction. Walking away from an unnecessary argument requires a level of discipline that many people never develop. It means choosing long-term peace over short-term satisfaction. It means accepting that not every opinion about you deserves a response. It means understanding that your worth is not determined by your ability to win verbal battles. Some battles are designed to distract you. Some conflicts exist only to pull you away from your purpose. Some arguments offer nothing except frustration disguised as importance. The moment you stop treating every challenge as an invitation to fight, you begin protecting something far more valuable than your pride. You begin protecting your energy, your focus, your emotional stability, and your ability to move forward without carrying the weight of other people's noise. Human beings are uncomfortable with unanswered questions. They can tolerate bad news, criticism, and even rejection more easily than uncertainty. When people know exactly what you think, exactly how you feel, and exactly what your next move will be, there is nothing left to imagine. Everything becomes predictable. Everything becomes available. The mystery disappears, yet most people spend their lives revealing every thought the moment it enters their minds. They speak too quickly, react too quickly, and expose too much without realizing that the things left unsaid often carry the greatest influence. Silence has a strange effect on the human mind. The moment information disappears, curiosity begins to grow. People naturally start filling empty spaces with their own assumptions. They wonder what you are thinking. They wonder why you did not react. They wonder what they missed. While words often satisfy curiosity, silence feeds it. It creates a gap that people feel compelled to close, even when they have no way of doing so. That is why a person who remains calm and silent in situations where everyone expects a reaction often becomes the center of attention without trying. Others are busy explaining themselves, defending themselves, and demanding to be heard. Meanwhile, the silent person says very little and somehow attracts more interest than the loudest voice in the room. Not because silence is magic, but because mystery has a powerful influence on human behavior. People often reveal their intentions when they cannot figure you out. The more they speak, the more they expose themselves. The more they try to understand your thoughts, the more they reveal their own. They begin asking questions. They begin searching for clues. They begin paying attention to details they would normally ignore. The silence they expected to weaken you ends up pulling them closer, because curiosity creates engagement. Many individuals believe influence comes from talking more, persuading more, and constantly proving their value. They assume that if they stop speaking, they will lose relevance. In reality, excessive explanation often has the opposite effect. When someone explains everything, there is no room left for imagination. Every detail is handed over immediately. Every answer is available without effort. The mind loses interest because there is nothing left to discover. Think about how often people become obsessed with understanding something they cannot fully access. A missing piece of information can hold more attention than a complete story. A single unanswered question can occupy someone's thoughts longer than 100 explanations. Silence works in a similar way. It creates space where curiosity can grow. It encourages people to think, analyze, and wonder. The less certainty they have, the more attention they give. This does not mean manipulating people or playing games. It means understanding a basic truth about human nature. Constantly revealing yourself to everyone around you often reduces your influence because nothing remains protected. Every thought becomes public. Every emotion becomes visible. Every reaction becomes expected. Predictability may feel comfortable, but it rarely creates presence. There is also a deeper form of influence hidden inside silence. When people cannot easily predict your reactions, they become more careful around you. They pay closer attention to your words because your words are not constantly available. They listen more carefully because they know you do not speak simply to fill empty space. Every statement carries more weight because it is not buried beneath endless noise. The modern world encourages constant expression. Everyone is expected to share opinions immediately. Every event demands a reaction. Every disagreement demands a response. Every criticism demands a defense. In the middle of all that noise, silence becomes unusual. And what is unusual naturally attracts attention. The person who does not rush to speak stands apart from those who cannot stop talking. Influence is rarely about volume. It is rarely about dominating every conversation or winning every debate. More often, it comes from self-control. It comes from knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. It comes from understanding that attention is earned, not demanded. While others chase validation through constant explanation, the silent person creates something far more powerful. They create curiosity. They create presence. They create an atmosphere where people begin searching for answers on their own, where every word becomes more valuable because it is not given away freely, where attention follows naturally instead of being chased, and where influence grows without the need for endless arguments, endless reactions, or endless attempts to be noticed. Most people spend an incredible amount of their lives defending themselves. They defend their decisions, their goals, their mistakes, their opinions, and sometimes even their existence. It becomes a habit so deeply rooted that they no longer question it. Someone doubts them, and they immediately begin explaining. Someone criticizes them, and they immediately begin justifying. Someone misunderstands them, and they feel an urgent need to correct the story. They believe confidence is proven through constant defense, when in reality the constant need to defend yourself often reveals uncertainty rather than strength. People who lack confidence usually depend on external approval to feel secure. They need agreement to feel validated. They need recognition to feel important. They need others to understand them before they can believe in themselves. As a result, every disagreement feels personal. Every criticism feels threatening. Every negative opinion feels like an attack that must be answered. Their emotional state becomes dependent on what other people think, and that dependency quietly places their peace in someone else's hands. True confidence operates differently. It does not demand constant confirmation. It does not require applause from every audience. It does not panic when someone misunderstands it. A confident person understands that no matter how clearly they explain themselves, some people will still disagree. No matter how honestly they act, some people will still question their motives. No matter how much effort they invest, some people will still find reasons to criticize. They stop chasing universal approval because they recognize it as an impossible goal. The strange thing about confidence is that it often becomes more visible when words disappear. When a person remains calm in the face of criticism, people notice. When a person refuses to become defensive during an accusation, people notice. When a person continues moving forward without obsessing over every opinion directed at them, people notice. Not because silence automatically makes someone right, but because emotional stability is rare. In a world filled with constant reactions, self-control stands out. Many people mistake defensiveness for strength because it appears aggressive. They assume the loudest response belongs to the strongest person. Yet loud reactions often come from fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of losing status. Fear of appearing weak. The louder the defense becomes, the more obvious the insecurity often appears. It signals that someone else's opinion has gained enough power to disturb your inner balance. There is a certain freedom that comes from no longer feeling responsible for changing every mind. You stop exhausting yourself trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop entering arguments that exist only to drain your energy. You stop carrying the burden of proving your worth to individuals who have already decided what they want to believe. The need for constant defense begins to disappear because your confidence no longer depends on their acceptance. This does not mean becoming passive or refusing to stand up for yourself when necessary. There are moments when speaking is important. There are situations where clarity matters. There are times when truth deserves a voice. The difference is that those actions come from intention rather than insecurity. You speak because it serves a purpose, not because you are desperate for validation. You explain because it is useful, not because your self-worth depends on being understood. People often underestimate how much power they give away through constant justification. Every unnecessary defense is a request for permission. Every desperate explanation is a request for approval. Every emotional reaction is evidence that someone else has gained access to your focus. The more dependent you become on changing opinions, the more vulnerable you become to those opinions. Confidence grows when you stop measuring yourself through the eyes of everyone around you. It grows when your actions become more important than your explanations. It grows when your standards matter more than public approval. It grows when criticism no longer controls your emotions and praise no longer controls your identity. The strongest presence in any room is rarely the person demanding recognition. It is often the person who knows exactly who they are, remains steady when others become emotional, stays focused when others become distracted, and carries a quiet certainty that does not need to be announced, defended, advertised, or proven to every person who happens to disagree.